Hello, it's Mike Rasmussen with CPA Straight Talk for Small Business. Today is Monday, August 3rd. Hope you had a great weekend. Going to be very focused today and not going to bounce all over the place. So as usual, what I'm going to do is jump on to the sites that I see are relevant for you today to consider, to the point that you can refer back to, or you can actually jump to with me as you're watching right now. If you're listening, you can just jump back and go, gosh, I need to jump back to that site. One of the things that, let me just start going through. So what I'm going to do is start out as normal, as I am at SBA.gov funding, to make sure that the Paycheck Protection Program, whether this SBA program has any new rules, if you will, or frequently asked questions. You can see right here as of 6/25 of 20, it doesn't, and we haven't been updated. And I can see right here, as I've checked before, that there are no updates there. That program is in place until August 8th. Here is the economic injury disaster loan. This is still live. So those are the two, just to make sure that the application. So the next, I wanted to do just a little virus update for you. And this was as of August 2nd. So there are all of the confirmed cases, deaths, and obviously you can tell that there are several states that are going up. And as you can see, there's US had more than 25,000 coronavirus related deaths in July, as cases spiked 70% from the previous month. What this quote is here from Axios is the grim milestone caused by the country's death toll to surpass 150,000. So here is, and by the numbers, let me read you one more stat. Nearly 160,000 have died of COVID-19 in the US. Almost 4.7 million have been tested positive for the virus from more than 56 million tests. Nearly 1.5 million people have recovered. So that's good news. So again, I like to show the map. The next is the house that I like to look at. The last, the house, just to see what bills are there today. The house is not meeting until tomorrow at 11 o'clock. So I will be able to, I'll bring to you, this is the live there. Then I move to the Senate. There's a couple bills that we have been following. One was Senate Bill 4117, which is the automatic forgiveness for the Paycheck Protection Program loan under 150,000 for other purposes. There has been no action on that. And then on Bill 41, Senate Bill 4171, and this is to direct the administrator of the Small Business Administration to establish and certify a calculator that assists lenders and recipients with Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness and for other purposes. Again, no action there. So those are the two that I'm following. The next resource we talked about last Friday from what's called the AICPA, and that is the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. It is a source with 45,000 accountants across the country helping advising small businesses. I frequently go to this site to find tools that I can pass on to you. So I showed you last week a place to pull out a AICPA state tax filing relief chart for COVID-19. When you click on it and download, here is the actual state tax filing guidance for the coronavirus pandemic. It was updated as of 7/17 of 20. Then what I did is I took it over to PDF, okay? And I actually use Acrobat. One of the things I'm going to point you to is these are the tools that I'm using that I hope can help you. Yes, they are subscription related. So I use Adobe Acrobat in the cloud. So here it is, Adobe Acrobat Reader DC, and this allows me to do a search. So if I want to take this 517-page document and I'm going to go, I want to actually search for state of Arkansas. Now, again, I am in my Adobe program. I then search for Arkansas. So let me go here. And here is the state of Arkansas. Okay. So this, and that was California. So these are what I need to pay attention to, not only because of my state, but I have a lot of taxpayers here as well. So if I wanted to go to the news release, I just hover my hand over to it, and then I will be taken to a document that the state of Arkansas put out. This is awesome for me because at July 15th, these were the tax returns that were due, the extensions, and it talks about not only payments, extensions, but this was just phenomenal data straight, and that's how easy it was to pop it up. Then the next, here is the actual website that you can go to, and if I pull up the website, here is the DFA, which is Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration, where I can go in here and and this is where I would actually file returns, filing to date, any news. So from this from this document of 517 pages, if I wanted to go see what was for the state of Oklahoma, okay? So there's 24, and here would be the state of Oklahoma that I could go to. Updates on the website, I could click there, allow that, and again, I'm allowing it on my computer. One of the things I look for is the secure little symbol over there, and now I'm directly to the Oklahoma Tax Commission. No matter what you're in, what state you're in. So a tool where I originally went to was to the AICPA. I went to the AICPA state filing relief chart, and then I went to open that up here. And then what I did is I saved this to a PDF. I actually use Adobe Acrobat Reader DC, which is an online tool that I subscribe for. And the purpose of that to do is I can edit or I can do a search. I hit the search button, this pops up, and then I want to look for Oklahoma. So I can go through here and see all of the mentions of this 517 page document there on page 341 for the state of Oklahoma. Okay, so those are just some of the tools that I do. I will actually post this link from the AICPA to our site so that you'll be able to reference that, okay? Then the next thing is I was showing you every state has files for your small business, a state and local district sales and use taxes happens to be for the state of California. This fillable form is not only fillable here, but then also there's an equivalent there for the California Board of Equalization site that you can actually enter in your online information, your sales, and all of this information. Once that's all entered in, and you can then get to the point where you pay online, okay? Most states have that offering, and this was just a manual form that I'm visually showing you. Now, one of the things that we are in development is to take this information and create a spreadsheet, which would look something like this. And we are taking this by state that you're going to be able to enter information in by quarter, gross sales, tax. So what these do by the state of California are actually, and you can see how long the form, the Excel sheet would be, which is as you filed it for the quarter, okay, as you filed it here on the website for this period, which would have been for any quarter, all quarters in the state of California, the same information would be able to enter here on the spreadsheet. Now, what we're going to be able to do is export it out from the site, import it here, and then this will be filled out. The purpose of this is to, as we talked about last Friday, is this form is going to be a form where we're going to audit and compare your sales number to your corporate tax return. You ought to be able to compare it to your accounting software, which might be QuickBooks, and all of the sales. When you look at gross sales, total sales here, this number in this column should agree to all of your corporate, your analytics for your business plan. It should compare, it should agree to your line one on your corporate or entity LLC tax return. It should agree to this sheet. And then it also should be a base number that credit card companies are using for total sales, not non-taxable, but total sales. And that's what you're collecting sales tax and submitting to the states. So this type of form is something that we're working with, that we're going to be able to have online, that you'll be able to go to your state, starting with the state of California. You can export the information as you have entered it. That information will be downloaded into a Excel format that you'll be able to what you'll be able to do is enter your information here, post the sheet. We'll have all instructions on how to do it. It will populate this sheet. And then as you move through, you'll be able to enter in here bank statement, your bank activity, because your total sales should have some relevance to your bank activity, your gross sales, total sales that you report on your entity tax return, and it should have your credit card total sales. All of those should be in an agreement, or you have an exception here in this form, which is going to be online with hitechcpa.com, so that you can actually go in there and have all of the different reporting tools agreeing to each other. So at any point in time, if there's any confusion of why one is not agreeing, this tool will give you some exceptions so that you'll be able to investigate and then make sure all your records are in compliance, in sync, match, and then you've identified any fluctuations in there. So if anybody later, either, and one of the reasons this is done is that eventually you might be in the process of selling your business, and someone might be looking and they're asking for the last 3 years tax return activity, the last 3 year, some due diligence to see all your filings for your entity, let's just say for the past 3 years. So what this tool can do is then be a summary for all your bank statements, your entity tax return, for your sales tax returns, and your credit card statements on, especially on the percent of what you're using for your small business. So this would be a summary that you would be able to to provide to a potential buyer or some other advisor of, here is my total activity again in what I file with sales tax, how that total sales agrees to my corporate tax return, how the total sales in my corporate tax return and what I file with the sales tax agree to my bank deposits, and then how do total sales, at what percent agree to the sales that credit cards have like American Express or Visa, MasterCard have been transacted, so that I can see a percentage of total sales. And again, all of this information really would be a summary for you. You would have copies and backup for your entity tax return and your credit card statements, your bank statements, and your sales tax returns. Like, for example, all of these would all be in a storage location for you to agree to that area and filed away, so that if you ever had to go back and create a roadmap and demonstrate your roadmap to show value and compliance, which only adds value to your small business. That is the purpose of basically what we are in the process of building online at Hi Tech CPA, and you'll be able to access this tool in the coming future. So I wanted to also get you to today. I'm not going to. There's really nothing to report today on the unemployment, because the talks are all going back and forth between the House, and since they're not and the Senate right now on the bills. But let me just I'm going to walk you through kind of where it's at. So I'm not going to, you can get a lot of update from different, my gosh, you can just Google or $600 unemployment on where it's going to end up. But I wanted to basically show you really what's out there and why there's big differences. So in March 27th was the CARES Act. That was the beginning of this pandemic. And of course, right around April 3rd is when the Paycheck Protection Program. And this was, the stimulus checks were apart. So if you look at the CARES Act, this was in March. And then the Democratic in May, what happened is they put a subsequent $3 trillion called the HEROES Act, okay? All right, that was passed in the House, okay? And then what happened is now the Senate is proposing $1 trillion, their version of the HEROES Act. In the end, the HEALS Act, and when it says Republican right here, this is just what makes it simple for you. The HEROES, because the House is majority of Democratic, that's why they've actually labeled this from Democrat. So the CARES Act was passed by Congress. That was, the president signed that into law. Then there was the HEROES Act follow-up for a supplemental bill. And now the HEALS Act is from the Senate. And again, since the Senate is majority ruled by Republicans, that's why this is here, okay? So huge disparity between $1 trillion and $3 trillion. What's nice is you can go here in order, the stimulus check maximum payment amount, same as what the CARES Act, okay? $1,200 to single filers earning under $75,000 per year, $2,400 for joint filers under $125,000, and then you reduce it per $100 of income above the limit. The HEROES and HEALS, same as the CARES. And again, how much stimulus money you get for dependents. Here is, they've upped it in the HEROES, and it's still $500 in the HEALS. So, and here's what I wanted to focus on. The enhanced unemployment benefit is all the news out there. What was under the CARES Act? It was $600 per week in addition to the state benefit. So the House basically just took that and said, leave that in. So it's the HEALS that the Senate right now is, when they announced theirs last week, initially $200 per week, then up to $500 per week to match 70% of lost wages when added to state benefits. If I could highlight this little area right here, it's between these two, between the HEROES and the HEALS, that all of the disagreement is happening right now. So it's not we're saying one's going to do versus the other. Let's give it another day. Suffices to say, until I see it up on the House, the live, or the Senate tomorrow, there's just expectations or potential. Everyone has their 2 cents of what is going to happen. I'm just keeping you really focused on here's what I'm convinced, no matter what happens here, is that the labor pool is going to be, if it's not retroactive, the labor pool is going to literally free up. And as I encourage you to do, is to contact your past employees, anyone that might have been on federal unemployment, and especially with your business model, if you have, are you going to have capacity to hire, rehire, because of your new business model, or sales have picked up, or and so in the past, even though an employee was on federal unemployment, you might want to go back to them and start saying, hey, when this thing all gets resolved. Now, this is all attempting to be put in place before Friday, which is when the Senate, they all go on recess, okay? Which would mean the HEALS proposal, if any of these, if something is not passed by then, it's going to keep with what's in place, which is the CARES Act, okay? How long? And this right here under the January drawing for most workers would be under what the proposed, and that would have been for what the heroes. And so there's a really these two, how long the unemployment lasts, $200, because in theory through September. And the reason why that is happening in the proposal is because there's a theory out there with the 30 million workers that they're making more than on than what they would have been working 70% of matching their lost wages. Okay. Yeah, I can leave the Paycheck Protection Program here. These are the differences that you can see. One is, I know that there's going to inject under the Senate bill, which is going to be proposed, is inject another 190 billion into the PPP fund, which expands eligibility and allows businesses to request a second loan, eliminates the 75% payroll requirement, and expands approved uses of funds for loan forgiveness. Be awesome. That is not what the House proposed back in May. So these two are going to have to be reconciled. Then, if there was an employer retention credit, so that was 50% up to $10,000 in wages. Actually, this was the employee tax credit if you retained wages, but you did not use a PPP loan. So what they're looking at here is because most people went after the PPP, and you can't double dip on wages, is both of these two have solutions to increasing it to 80, and then here's one to 65%, change the wages. So the employee tax credit, which was out of the first, even before the CARES Act. Then we've got bonuses, evictions, school reopenings in CARES Act. Obviously, we didn't know back then, and now there are different amounts to get schools reopened, and you can see what the difference there. There is a real paying attention to for small businesses. I'm very interested in this final bill to, no matter what happens, is for what the Senate has proposed in this HEALS Act is this liability. And what's interesting is that this has to do with an employee. What happens when an employee actually gets COVID on your as an employer at your location, and you didn't follow the CDC guidelines, which is another reason why we go through what's out there right now. And you should also be keeping your diary of the exact stringent rules by state from the CDC. Okay, I'm gonna get up here. You need to go create a journal and really do it by state. You do it by state, where you're located, by county, by city, because it's how you were affected. And if right here, what the Republicans on the Senate are proposing is a 5-year liability shield to prevent schools, businesses, hospitals from being sued over coronavirus related issue. And what that has to do with is if a employee you did not pay, or should have paid, or should have rehired, you being employer of a small business, that you didn't, there really wasn't a restriction in your state. There really wasn't, you weren't following. It was just, I just shut everything down, kept my PPP money, and let everybody, all my employees go for another, just to let let employees go that you currently had without any rational or following the guidelines that CDC had or the PPP rules that had out. And even though you may have received some money or some aid, is you really didn't follow the CDC. And then an attorney, the employee, then went and hired an attorney and said, my employer didn't follow the law. So what this liability is doing is allowing employers to do their best effort. They still have to follow, as long as they're following CDC or other rules, state agency, the Washington, D.C., White House, Congress, as long as they're following rules at that time, which is also why I do this. If you ever had to look back and go, this is how it was impacting me on that at that day, there's a liability shield. Now, this is one of the, it's just, I think we should all pay attention to this one because it'll affect every small business. And then the testing here of 16 billion, that is just the final one. So I'm going to leave you on just a recap of, I did the state tax filing from the AI CPA. We walked through, what we walked through here was, we basically show there's nothing going on in the anything new you need to know about. There's a state maps. The House reconvenes tomorrow. There's been no movement on the Senate Bill 4117, which is if you're under $150,000, you do not have to, your loan would be completely forgiven. And then Senate Bill 4171, which is certifies a calculated assist in letters and recipients with Paycheck Protection Program loan forgiveness and for other purposes. I went to show you where the state, you can actually download the state tax filing guidance for coronavirus pandemic. And then I walked you through where if you open it in Adobe Acrobat Reader DC, it is a subscription I subscribe to, I'm able to search by state quickly and then launch off to my state. So at my fingertips, I can actually instruct to clients, employees, or anybody on the line to do advice. Then I showed you the state of California's actual form, of which Hi Tech CPA, we are in process of developing where we would actually take that form, be able to download the information by filing, which might be by quarter in the state standpoint, and then update this form. The reason why we do that is you ought to have at your fingertips a summary of data. So, and that data could be for an advisor. It would be your sales, which should agree to your corporate or entity tax return, which should agree to your sales tax filings, your corporate tax filing. It should agree to your credit card filings, especially on, as you know, a percentage of what is not cash transactions. And then the fourth is your bank deposits. So all four of those and any variances could be used on this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet here, which will be an online tool to be coming out by the end of October, so that you'll be able to coordinate all of your activity, and then you can store all your documents. Okay. And again, all this was just showing you that you can link off of that sheet on what to do by state. So I want to thank you for showing up for today. And what do I leave you with? I always leave a question that you can ask your CPA. And if there's anything I can answer your CPA and advisor today, and that would be to focus on the state tax filing and looking for tools like the Adobe Acrobat that you can search quickly. It's all about a matter of minutes, and when you're attempting to get information. So if there are tools that can help you narrow in, either just by listening to me once a day, or if there are tools that can make your access to information quicker. You can go on and Google PPP or SBA or all that. So the idea is, where do you go every day quickest to get your information, and the tools I'm just going to be bringing to you as much as I can during every show, so that you can use some of those. You can go subscribe yourself, and you can become your own advisor and have a great foundation when advisors are giving you advice. So by knowing your complete picture, that's our whole goal of doing the online tool, to be able to have the information to match your most important sales number. So have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.